Are you looking for better shooting experience? How about a facility where you can shoot all of your firearms in the same day, where you can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, and practice your rifle work out to 600 yards? Shoot a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. You can do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsmans Club. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, president of the Aurora Sportsmans Club. If you love the outdoors, you'll want to know all about Northern Illinois' largest outdoor shooting facility, the Aurora Sportsmans Club. If you're a novice looking for a basic course, an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, or perhaps you want to participate in your favorite shooting event, or just spend an enjoyable day with a family, the Aurora Sportsmans Club is the only shooting facility in the region that offers all that and more. Interested? Then you won't want to miss the next orientation and tour of the Aurora Sportsmans Club. Call, email, or visit our website today to find out how you can become part of a better shooting experience at the Aurora Sportsmans Club in Waterman, Illinois.
He is the human Molotov cocktail that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them.
So we're going to create a new government that serves you, your family, and your country. It's
time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues, here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David's rant of the week is Liberalism, the Ultimate Condescension, with David and Gretchen talking about the left's obsession with redefining the Second Amendment. Then we'll look at what's happening with the Republicans' attempt to establish national reciprocity for concealed carry. And finally, yes, Virginia, there really may be a Santa Claus when it comes to an overhaul of the U.S. federal income tax code. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So give us a call at 815-205-1584. That's 815-205-1584. Or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question or make a comment there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
Of all the things that annoy me about liberalism, the worst is their condescending attitude. Liberals always think they're the smartest one in the room. It's easy to feel that way when you're fed talking points that merely need to be memorized without actually understanding them. Coupled with, you don't care about the children, and you have the elixir of condescension. Assault rifles are the #1 cause of death in the United States. No, they're not. You made that up. Well, you just don't care about the children, do you? Left and right coast liberals just love to preach to those of us in flyover country, and one of their favorite subjects is gun control. Funny how they always start the sentence with, I totally support the Second Amendment, but, followed by, hunters don't need military-style assault rifles, or, I don't have a problem with you having a gun at home for personal protection, but nobody needs a military assault rifle with 30 rounds. What are you afraid of? Well, idiots like you being elected to public office, for one. And then there's the one that grates me like fingernails on a chalkboard. The Founding Fathers couldn't possibly foresee assault rifles. They never intended the public to own military-style weapons. Au contraire, moose breath. You're wrong on both counts because in your typically arrogant fashion, you're making assumptions about something for which you are clearly clueless. First of all, you're assuming that the Founding Fathers were as stupid as, well, you. The fact is, the Founding Fathers were the brightest and the best of their time. They were highly intelligent, educated, and successful. The Constitution is a living example of it. It is one of the great documents of all time. To assume the Founding Fathers were too dim-witted to understand technology evolves and improves over time is the height of arrogance. They witnessed an evolution in many facets of their daily lives, such as medicine. Bleeding, potion, and leeches were common practices that were constantly evolving and improving. It's ludicrous to think they didn't see the potential in firearms. The manufacture and sale of firearms was big business in the 18th century. Think about it. For the Founding Fathers, firearm ownership was critical. It put food on the table, and anything west of the Delaware River was pretty much a dangerous and vast wilderness one did not dare traverse unarmed for fear of man and beast. The Founding Fathers would have seen firearm technology go from flintlock muskets to the Girondoni air rifle, which caused quite a stir in its time. It had a 22-round magazine and an air reservoir sufficient for 30 shots and was reloaded with a pump. The first shot was more powerful than a musket, with muzzle energy decreasing with each shot. Yet another advanced weapon was the Kentucky long rifle, which fired 60 caliber balls at the rate of 3 a minute and was accurate out to about 300 yards. Do you really believe that they saw such evolution and assumed it ended right there, never to be improved upon? Which brings me to the second issue. The Founding Fathers never envisioning the common man in possession of a military weapon. To believe that means that you are totally devoid of any understanding of the Revolutionary War. The colonists had mounting grievances against King George III, not the least of which was they were under strict rule of England, yet were denied representation in the Parliament. The most egregious part was the Parliament constantly levied new taxes and raised existing ones. The colonists petitioned King George to intervene with Parliament on their behalf, only to learn he declared them as traitors. In 1775, the colonists were fed up with the taxation without representation, and armed conflict broke out between the colonists and British regulars at the battles of Lexington and Concord. The circumstance of that first engagement was over gun control. The British Army had been mobilized to seize a store of the colonists' gunpowder, thereby essentially disarming them. In fact, there was little gunpowder to be found, but the shot heard round the world had been fired, and the revolution begun. This was the history of the Founding Fathers when they wrote the Second Amendment. It was never about hunting or even personal safety. It was about protecting themselves from a tyrannical government. To do so meant the colonists had to possess the same weapons as the standing army to serve as a deterrent to a government run amok. The Founding Fathers didn't merely envision the common man having a military-grade firearm. They insisted on it. The story of the Founding Fathers has yet to be declared racist, sexist, and homophobic, so you can still find hundreds of books written on the subject. It is hardly kept a secret, which makes me wonder exactly what are liberals up to. Liberals know full well the Founding Fathers understood technology and the necessity for the common man to be allowed to possess firearms similar to the military. Finally, the so-called assault weapons figure into the national homicide rate at almost an insignificant percentage level. Banning them outright will have no impact on violent crime at all, which makes me wonder why liberals want them all banned. Well, excuse me, but I have a theory. They don't want John Q. Citizen armed because people with guns fight back. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Should ask me again, what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of crazy politicians.
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. Ma'am, you have 5 guns in your car. What are you afraid of?
Not a damn thing.
That's right. Give us a call, 815-205-1584. 815-205-1584. And talk about a little bit about the Second Amendment here for a while. There was an article written by someone who probably has the worst grammar and punctuation of anyone. Well, the grammar, he sprinkles in a few, you know what, he uses big words so, you know, that people
will think he's photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, yes. But the gist of the article is okay. And basically he makes that point that I just made, so let me throw that one out. But
yeah, really the last line is really the only line you need to read.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Of this article.
Are you going to read the last line?
Sure. The idea that the government has the right to forbid you to own a specific type of weaponry is new, it is dangerous, and it is a trend that is foreign to the thinking of the founders and traditions of this nation.
And that's exactly what's happened. I found some very interesting quotes about the Second Amendment because, you know, the liberals are always going, they never intended the common man to have that. Everything that these people wrote back then.
Well, not only that, you know, they're saying, well, they didn't want people to have, or they didn't expect people to have military-grade weapons. Oh, that's not true. The weapons that people had were military-grade weapons because they had militias. They were the militia.
Yeah.
And you grabbed whatever you had and you ran outside and got on your horse. And so that was the military-grade weapon. And they would get, as you said...
And they had to buy their own.
It was big business. So they would get whatever they could afford and whatever, whatever the latest and greatest thing was.
George Mason, who was a co-author of the Second Amendment, George Mason said, "I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people. To disarm the people is the best and most effectual way to enslave them." Every one of the Founding Fathers, they all made comments very similar to this sort of thing. George Washington, a great quote, "Firearms stand next in importance to the Constitution itself. They are the American people's liberty teeth and keystone under independence. From the hour the Pilgrims landed to the present day, events, occurrences, and tendencies prove that to ensure peace, security, and happiness, the rifle and pistol are equally indispensable. The very atmosphere of firearms anywhere restrains evil interference. They deserve a place of honor with all that's good."
Yes.
That is future President George Washington.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of interesting quotes that I came up with here.
Patrick Henry was definitely an ardent supporter.
I love that quote.
He said the great object is that every man be armed.
Yeah.
And he said that if you take people's guns away, it's humiliating and debasing degradation. That's pretty good. That's pretty strong words.
Another quote from Patrick Henry, which is one I thought you were going to read. It says, "Are we at last brought to such humiliating and debasing degradation that we cannot be trusted with arms for our defense? Where is the difference between having our arms in possession and under our direction and having them under the management of Congress? If our defense be the real object of having those arms, in whose hands can they be trusted with more propriety or equal safety to us than in our own hands?" Every one of the Founding Fathers and the signers of the Constitution basically all agree. It's an individual right to own firearms.
I thought it was Patrick Henry also who said that basically the difference between a free man and a slave is the right to own arms. Or was it
an armed
somebody else?
man is a citizen. A disarmed man is a slave,
Yeah, something
or
like
subject.
that.
The other, here's a pro-gun quote that is very, very interesting, and it comes from Sarah Brady. And she says, "Our main agenda is to have all guns banned. We must use whatever means possible. It doesn't matter if you distort the facts or even lie. Our task is creating a socialist America that can only succeed when those who would resist us have been totally disarmed." Sarah Brady. We'll be back with more on Target Radio. We'll talk a little bit more about concealed carry and reciprocity.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsmans Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
Do you dread writing? Is it challenging to find just the right words to get your point across? Do you put off developing marketing materials because you just don't know where to start? You get one chance to make a first impression, and my editor, Creative Business Services, can help make it a strong, positive one. Hi, this is Gretchen Fritz, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to tell you about My Editor, a business I started to help you overcome those concerns. What you're experiencing is very common. My Editor has helped business owners, candidates for political office, and even authors and public speakers. At My Editor Creative Business Services, we can simply edit your existing work or help you develop an entire writing plan of action from initial project design through final copy. We are easy to work with and will help you get your point across in the most effective manner. If words escape you, send me an email at myeditor@mail.com. Use My Editor Creative Business Services and go to print with confidence. That's myeditor@mail.com or find us on Facebook.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
I don't know if I thought I would ever see this in my lifetime, and it still may not happen, but it is beginning to look pretty serious that we will get national reciprocity.
Yeah, it's starting to look good.
They've got 213 co-sponsors on this bill in the House.
Yes.
That's pretty significant.
That's like half of the House.
That's the Republican half of the House. It could happen. We're not sure exactly. Well, the Senate has a version, but it's different. It has to be
they'll
resolved,
have to conference it. Yeah.
But it could happen. And boy, are the liberals lining up and whining.
I think they're peeing themselves a little bit.
Oh yeah. Our favorite worthless turd, Gabby Giffords, who, if you take one to the head, your logic goes with it. What are you going to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't know much about her before.
You certainly do now.
Yeah.
Gabby Giffords, Congress is actually moving to weaken our public safety, she said. It's an extraordinary violation of the public's trust. Elections have consequences. We will be watching and acting. Yeah, you're going to watch. Of course you are. What else are you going to do at this point? When they do this stuff, it's for the good of the people.
It's for the children.
It's for the children. When we do a similar thing, it's, you just can't do that. That's wrong.
Yeah.
You did it. Ignore that part. That part doesn't count.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
We'll never do it again. Well, sure, not under this Congress. You won't.
No, because we get the House, the Senate, and the White House. So, yeah.
I know you're not going to do it again. They call it, and this is something that gripes me, really does gripe me. They call the bill is federal overreach that panders to the gun lobby, while Republicans argue it is just a logical extension of the Second Amendment. Now, this is what irritates me. The gun lobby, and the NRA in particular, they excoriate the NRA.
Sure.
The NRA is, they have this power, they have that power, they don't have. Excuse me. The NRA is an organization. They don't have squat if it weren't for their members.
They have people.
They have people. They are representing a lot of people who give a lot of money to be represented.
Yes.
That's what's called, let me think, democracy.
Yeah.
And I know that's, something that makes them uncomfortable. But that's how it is. Not the organization. It's the people that are supporting it.
Well, not only that. I mean, to me, it just comes down to they have to have a villain. They have to paint someone as a villain, and the NRA is as good as anyone.
It's a comfortable paint.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. You're not actually naming names because it's an organization. It's not actually a person.
Well, sometimes they do single out
Wayne, yeah. But that's fine. He doesn't care.
No,
I think
loves it.
I think Wayne sleeps at night,
Yeah, right.
The fact of the matter is, I think Wayne LaPierre is okay with it.
Right.
He probably actually chuckles a lot.
I think he probably does.
He seems like a fairly jovial guy to me.
You see him frothing in the first row over there? Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I don't think I don't take it too seriously when they do that. They have to do that.
Yeah. Representative Richard Hudson, Republican of North Carolina. I hate when people throw around common sense anything. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But he points out it's a common sense solution to the confusing hodgepodge of concealed carry reciprocity agreements between states. And that is literally true. That is a classic case of it actually is a common sense solution. Whereas most of the time, whether it's right or left, when people start throwing around common sense, there's this motive for it, right?
Well, right. Like you said, it always makes me a little bit nervous. I haven't read the actual bill, so I'm interested to see how they reconcile differences between states.
They actually don't.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that it does, the one thing that it does is it says if you can carry in your home state, you can carry in every other state.
But you still have to follow the laws of every other state.
That's exactly right. So it doesn't really
the only
do
law
away with
you
the
don't
hodgepodge.
Right. The only way you don't have to follow that law is in getting the permit itself.
Exactly. So right now, we always talk about if you get Illinois, Utah, really Illinois and Utah, you got about 40 states, something like that.
Right.
Okay? If they pass the bill, you got 50 states
50
and
states.
D.C. But you still, the only thing you're exempted from is having to qualify to get a concealed carry in that state. You still
Right.
got to follow the laws of the state. So
Sure.
some states you can go into a bar, some you can't. Some states you got to tell the cop. So it's a little bit disingenuous when Hudson says it solves the hodgepodge, because the real hodgepodge is when you get in the state.
Right.
And it's
exactly.
totally different than your state.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. The students in our class this weekend were asking me about that, about other states' laws, because the young woman, she actually goes to college in Wisconsin.
Right.
And so she was like, so when I'm in Wisconsin, I have to follow Wisconsin law. I'm like, ding, ding, ding,
Exactly.
you got it. And that's the hard part, that when you travel, and a lot of times you're just driving through, there's a lot
Sure.
to know.
Yeah.
And the other states, compared to Illinois, I mean, you start with your knowledge base, which is Illinois, and then you're trying to understand the other states' laws, so you're kind of comparing it naturally. You just compare it with
Sure.
what you know, and sometimes it really doesn't make a lot of sense. I have to say, Ohio was
A lot of times.
Ohio was weird.
Yeah.
Like if they want to, if a business of any kind wants to restrict concealed carry, they can post any kind of a sign they want. There's absolutely no standardization. There's no
Didn't know that.
requirements
I didn't know that.
of what it has to look like or what it has to say in order for a business to restrict
they
concealed
could make
carry
little
in
signs there.
Ohio. Yeah, I mean, it could be all text, which if you can't read or you don't read
that's great.
English, that could be an
So
issue.
they're putting it on Ohio State University campuses. Illini gets that free swing in there.
Alrighty, whatever. But yeah, so it's definitely an interesting problem. I like what John Rutherford said. He's a representative from Florida. He said, "In my experience with law enforcement, we want good people carrying guns." He was saying that law enforcement, it's a backup for law enforcement.
Yeah. It's, and I say this somewhat glibly, but it's true. Being in Illinois makes us one of the better states to be in for reciprocity, because we have such screwed up and strict laws that pretty much if we follow our laws, we can go to any state.
Well, and actually, it's funny that you say that, because I said that to the students yesterday. I'm like, if you follow Illinois law, you're probably going to be okay, because it's so strict.
It is. It really is true.
Yeah, but somebody was asking about like the list of restricted places in other states compared to Illinois. I'm like, well, all I know is Utah and Illinois. So those are the only two
Yeah.
states I have to compare. But Utah has like 4 and Illinois has 23. So
There's a message there.
what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. The best rule of thumb on concealed carry is if it's a place where you think you should have a gun, you can't have it.
Well, in Illinois.
Yeah, in Illinois, right? Yeah,
For sure.
You go into rowdy bars, you can't have it there. You go into
Right.
big festivals where people get into fight,
Yeah,
can't have it
going
there.
to
Yeah.
a convention center,
Right.
a concert hall, a sporting venue, no.
Yeah,
Cook County Forest Preserve, no.
yeah, exactly. John Spann is on the phone. How much time we got? Oh, we got time. We got time for
What's
John.
John want?
Well, we're going to find out. John Spann is going to tell us what he wants. John, you there?
Hi, guys. How you doing tonight?
We're
John
doing fine.
Spann.
What's up?
Just a quick thing. I realize that there's a lot of gray area, and we're all, of course, hoping for the national reciprocity. The way that you liken it to driving from state to state, you have to, if you're legal in Illinois, you're legal to drive anywhere in the United States. Do you think that down the road that they would write the laws similarly as far as where you can carry, where you can't carry, what the signage would be? I mean, they don't make a stop sign different in 50 states. They're all one stop sign.
It's virgin
I
ground.
realize that's a little bit down the road.
Virgin ground, John.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Now, one thing I will say is that, like, when there's only been one amendment to the concealed carry law, which was Public Act 9929, and one of the things that they said in that is that a police officer can take your gun away from you for the duration of his or her interaction with you, and then obviously give it back to you if they have no reason to keep it. And I think that the reason they did that is because other states have that type of provision in their laws, and they wanted to make Illinois be more similar to other states. So in that way, I would say yes. I would say probably from state to state, like with neighboring states, there's probably going to be some of that.
Yeah.
You know, of like, okay, well, we're concerned that our laws are not enough similar to, you know, Wisconsin and Indiana. So let's maybe reconcile our 3 laws. So I think you're probably, you know, you're going to see neighboring states kind of maybe do that a little bit, but then, you know, California and Maryland and New York and New Jersey are still going to be outliers.
Yeah. The thing is that, though, Illinois is less likely to do that. I mean, they got their panties in a knot in Springfield.
Yeah, definitely.
Any common sense thing that they're not going to go for because it's not the common sense thing that they want. But in terms of going to other states and taking the cop taking the gun, I have mixed emotions about this. The side of me that's Constitution goes, no, that's not right. But the side of me that was a cop goes, okay, I get that. You know, if you're honestly approaching this and you go, look, I want to take possession of your gun until we're done here and I'll give it back to you. And I've heard of that happening in some states. People have told me that.
Sure.
But here's the bottom line truth. Whether you think cops should be able to do it or you think they shouldn't be able to, the bottom line is you shouldn't be handling a loaded gun, period. Every time you take a gun out of a holster and start passing it around, you're increasing the chance of an accidental discharge.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense.
Okay, so even though this is not really what we were talking about, first of all, I've asked around, and nobody's doing it.
Yeah, I don't know anybody in this state that's done it.
Yeah.
But I've heard it done in a couple
Right.
times.
I've heard of other states doing it. The only situation where I can see, and this is what I've said in class too, is if the gun is already out, then I can see them just saying, I'm just going to take that.
Because rapid possession.
Right, because if it's not out, if I'm doing deep concealment or if it's in the glove compartment and the glove compartment's closed, just leave it there.
Right.
There's no reason.
And why do you want the guy who you're taking the gun for your own safety to take the gun out with his own hand?
Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't.
Yes, I mean,
I'm sure they don't.
But the guy that...
But that's what I'm saying. That's the other reason is, especially with women, it's like, okay, if I'm doing deep concealment, I'm going to have to lift up my shirt so you can take my gun out of my pants? Yeah, recipe for a lawsuit. Hello.
The guy that told me about this was in, I think, North Carolina or something, on vacation. Mm-hmm. And basically, it actually worked out fine. The cop said, I'd like to just take possession of your firearm while we're transacting, and I'll give you back the gun. Mm-hmm. And so he gave it to him. The guy unloaded the gun, put it in the middle of his back, put the cartridge in his pocket. And when it was over, he handed the guy the gun back, and put it back in your thing, handed him the cartridges back, and just beat feet to the car and drove away. Yeah, exactly. Now, it was handled, if you're going to do that, it was handled fine.
Sure.
It does raise the question, A, every time you take a gun out of a holster, there's all sorts of problems that can evolve from that.
Yeah.
And B, really, under the Constitution, why are you doing that? Why are you actually doing that?
Like I said, if it's out, like if I had it on the passenger seat under a jacket and he could just reach in the passenger window and take it, okay, fine, because it was already out. But if it's not out, don't get it out.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I think we'll talk a little bit more about easing gun restrictions and concealed carry. I think that's what we're going to talk about. We're going into 3, right? We're going into 3.
We are.
All that and more when we return with more on Target Radio. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to offer you a partnership opportunity. For over 4 years, On Target Radio covered the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech on AM 560 The Answer. But a 1-minute commercial was $200, making it tough to find enough sponsors. So last November, we left AM 560 and began podcasting. There's a learning curve to podcasting, and we've worked through the kinks and would now like to make you an offer. You can have a 60-second audio or video commercial for as little as $25 a week. We can also offer fellow conservatives their own radio or video podcast for as little as $100 a week, with equipment and technical personnel included. You provide the content and host, plus get 6 free minutes of commercial time you can sell yourself. If you'd like to be an On Target Radio sponsor or explore the possibility of having your own show, call me at 815-741-3474 and let's explore the possibilities together.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join us at 7 p.m. Wednesday, December 20th at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois. December is show and tell, with guests bringing their favorite firearm or shooting-related piece of equipment and giving a brief talk about it. You'll find the newest gear, as well as very old military firearms, all with interesting histories and stories. Come join us and bring your favorite toy to show off. Just be sure it's unloaded and bring an empty chamber flag to go along with it. Join us Wednesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
So, you know, I made a little mistake.
What?
Well, I left John on the line. I forgot he was there. We got cranked up. We started talking about something. John, we love you. I just forgot.
That's all right. I mean, John's a friend.
He's a jovial fellow.
We would sit around and have a beer with John.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially if he was buying.
Well, yeah.
I absolutely would. Yeah.
Even you would.
Anyway, I didn't intentionally stop talking to John. I got cranked up.
It wasn't
on
an intentional slight, John.
Yeah, it was. It's okay. Air Force made an interesting thing. Part of this bill shores up the
background
database.
check
Yeah, the
system.
background check thing. And here's the Air Force. This is an oops from the Air Force. The Air Force has acknowledged that the Texas shooter, Devin P. Kelly, should have had his name and domestic violence conviction submitted to the National Criminal Information Center database. The Air Force has discovered several dozen other such reporting omissions since the November 5 shooting. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. How many of the last... 28 of the last serial killers. They were the ones who we forgot to put on the list. This is the problem. And literally, this is the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is most of these people, I can't say all because I've never studied each one, but certainly the majority of these people should never have had a gun in the first place and got one legally.
Sure. And there were a number, I think Dylan Roof, there was some sort of an overlooked snafu with his too. So there have been certain ones where they acquired their own guns. You know, Adam Lanza didn't acquire
He stole from his mother.
Right. He didn't have his own guns. He had someone else's guns. But a number of these people, you know, I wouldn't say a huge number, but a chunk of these people have been
legal possession
persons who should not, you know,
right.
who should have been denied and weren't.
So part of this bill, and it doesn't, I haven't read the bill itself. I've just read stuff about it. So maybe it does specify how they're going to do this. But this, we've talked about this before, and this is actually a serious drawback because where do your rights as a patient? Because if you see a psychiatrist, for instance, you're a patient, and there is a doctor-patient privilege, right? Where exactly is the line drawn where your right to confidentiality breaches my right to not die because you go psycho on it?
Well, right, and the whole concept of like mandatory reporter is, it's really subjective. I mean, it's up to that medical professional to say, okay, the line has been crossed, I have to report this now. And, you know, and confidentiality privilege laws don't apply at this point. And so, yeah, it definitely does put it in the hands of people, and it's not objective. It is subjective because it's going to be what each individual, you know, psychiatrist, psychologist, you know, threshold is for, you know, crazy behavior.
Yeah. The thing that disturbs me a little about, because I'm all for not letting people like that get their hands on a gun. But one of the things that does bother me a little bit is what has been floated is that any doctor could drop a dime on you. Well, now wait a minute now. Okay, so I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and you say something weird, and I call the police on you or what? No,
Right.
that's a little. What if I'm an anti-gun guy?
Right.
And he came in here wearing it's because I'm black thing, that T-shirt with the assault weapon. There's something wrong with him. You better check him. No,
Right.
wait a minute.
Right.
So, I suppose I could see where that doctor, could call some mental health specialist and say, you got to check up on Bob here.
Right.
Bob's got a problem.
Right.
Some method because let me tell you something, having done doctoral work in this stuff, there's a whole manual of, this is what schizophrenia is, this is what this and what is. It's all bullshit.
Oh, really?
Well, it is. It goes, displays, he stands there and, masturbates in front of, windows. And you look at this stuff and you go, this is crap. Now, you're going to take somebody who's specifically trained as a psychiatrist, which are Freudian, or a psychoanalyst, which could be God knows what. I was Rogerian. That's what University of Illinois was. My favorite one was Primal Scream. I always wanted to hang out outside the door of the Primal Scream guys. That's really therapy if I've ever seen it. Although in my office, I often practice Primal Scream.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, you like that one.
I do. But
I like aggression therapy myself.
Yeah, throwing stuff and smashing the crap out of stuff. Yeah,
smashing things and burning things.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm into.
There's a lot into that. Pour gas on a fire. But
let it out. It's sort of like Primal Scream. It's the whole let it out school of thought.
But here's the thing: the people who are actually trained to do this stuff, which is kind of BS to begin with,
right?
At least they've got some semblance of credibility. But to go to a GP and the guy goes, "This guy's a wacko, put him away," or "Don't let him have a gun," I have a problem with that.
Well, I was saying, I sort of wonder if maybe that isn't how we get more people into the mental health care system, as far as general practitioners, family doctors, right? Family doctors asking questions that will get the types of answers, and then referring people.
Wait a minute here. Time out. So I haven't had this because my doctors don't have this issue. But I've talked to people here in Illinois whose doctor has said to me, "You have guns in the house?"
That's not the question I'm talking about.
Well, that's how they start the conversation.
Yeah, see, I don't think that should be how they start the
It's none of your
conversation.
business.
I think they should be starting the conversation of,
Want to kill anybody?
Right. Do you have any thoughts of murder? Like serious thoughts of murder?
Bobby, do you hang out in men's locker rooms?
Have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Watch gladiator movies? Yeah. Want a cup of coffee? No, thanks.
No, thank you.
People who are listening to us have no idea what we're talking about. Well, they may. You never know.
It's Airplane.
Yeah, it's from
lines from Airplane. Yeah. This is what we do. People have told us many times that they feel like they're just sitting in somebody's living room, and
they are. They're sitting in our dining room.
We're just extending that.
Yeah. Well, you remember when we first when you first came on the show, we sat down with the station manager and account rep and the program director, and I made the statement, we can't compete with the big guys, right?
Right.
I said, so what we'll be like your next door neighbor. We'll just be like two people talking, which is what we do. And people listen to us sometimes and go, what the are they doing?
No, I think they like it.
I don't know.
Okay, everybody PM the show and tell us, do you sit there and think WTF?
Did you just say P in the show?
I said PM
the
show.
I'm sorry, I thought you said P in the show.
The young people, that means private message.
Yes, I know. I'm aware of that. I thought you said P in the show. I'm waiting for my headphones to start filling.
PM the show.
Okay, so they have.
Which they do anyway. People PM me all the time.
Yeah, I get a lot of PMs, email. I get all kinds of stuff. I don't know what it is. I call him and I go, my computer doesn't work, and he says it's full of crap.
Or I'll see so I watch the messages, the private messages that you guys send us. I watch them as the show is going on, and I try to answer them right away. And then I'll see a month from now, he'll answer one of them.
And I got there by accident.
Right. Like, he doesn't know how he landed on that page. And this show was actually like 5 weeks ago.
And I answer it like it was last night.
Right. And so then I get a notification that there was a message. And so I look at it and I go, oy vey. Mike just PM'd us. He said he understands everything.
Mike, join the crowd here. This is good. Okay, so if he understands everything, he understands that movie.
His avatar, okay, I love Mike. His avatar on Facebook is the Gadsden flag.
That's good.
So, yay, Mike.
So, okay, so what we're saying is he likes that movie.
Yes.
Okay,
Airplane.
so that means it's time to switch, okay? We'll go to another movie and see if he picks up on the other movie. Okay, you ready for this?
But that's the only one. Okay, yeah.
Mike, I deny them my precious bodily fluids.
I only drink branch water and bourbon or whatever.
Mandrake, did the Japanese capture you during the war? Yeah, they did. He says, did they torture you? Yes, they did. Did you tell them what they wanted to know? I don't think they wanted to know anything. Sorry, bastards. They made such great transistor radios.
Yeah, see, I don't know that one as well. I knew that's where you were going to go, but I don't know that one as well.
If you know what that's from, Mike.
Or anyone else.
Or anybody else. Yeah,
or anyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, John Spann texted me, and he said...
I'll never call back again.
No, he said it's no problem that we forgot that he was on the line, and he said he loves the show and he never misses it.
He's my man.
He is.
He's my man. Yeah.
He is.
John's a good guy. Well, we got 1:28 to burn.
I got to come up with another movie that we both know lines from. I tried to get you to watch Grosse Point Blank because I know,
but I've seen that movie.
I know almost the entire movie.
I've seen that maybe twice, but yeah.
I'd be in the kitchen, chopping celery, and I'd be making mirepoix. You know mirepoix. Mirepoix.
Yeah.
And my dad would come home from work, and he would just go, carrots and celery are just a base of a soup. You have to add other flavors. It's not going to be a boring soup. That's what counts for a normal conversation between my father and I.
Which is funny because he almost never talks.
I know, right?
Anyway, 37 seconds. We can survive this one.
That's nothing.
Anyway, it literally does appear as if reciprocity.
It's looking good.
It is actually looking very good. So we'll see. The Democrats tried to put a whole bunch of riders on it. They all failed. So I think it'd be great if we got it. If we do, we'll maybe get in the car and drive over to Indiana just for the hell of it.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, but until then, when we come back, we're going to talk about something else. I don't know what. When we return with more
on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsmans Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
In need of a ride to O'Hare or Midway Airport? Well, look no further. The Yellow Checkered Cab Company is the cab company for you. With the Yellow Checkered Cab Company, you will always be greeted by a friendly face and arrive safely and on time for your flight. Start your trip off right by taking advantage of one of their limos, shuttle vans, cabs, or courtesy cars. And airport trips are not all they specialize in. This 24-hour cab service will pick you up anytime, any day, for any occasion. From bachelorette parties to school dances finances to just a night out with friends. Yellow Checker Cab Company has the best rates in town. So sit back, relax, and leave the driving to the professionals. Once you experience their fast and affordable cab service, you'll be a customer for life. When it comes to cab companies, be sure to choose Yellow Checker Cab because you have the right to expect certain things from your cab company. For further information or to book your trip today, call 815-744-2900. That's 815-744-2900.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life. Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
The Illinois State Rifle Association invites you to participate in Winter Wars 14, their annual high-power rifle romp in the snow at the ISRA range in Bonfield. The Winter Wars match will be Saturday, January 13th, starting at 9 a.m. This is not a fiercely contested event for finely tuned match rifles. This is an opportunity for the milsurp rifle enthusiast to shake off cabin fever and get back in touch with some of his or her favorite relic battle rifles for a little fun and a little frostbite. There will be door prizes, not score prizes, and you will probably receive one if you brave the cold. The event includes 2 shooting matches, chili, hot drinks, and a bonfire. The entry fee is $25 if you register by January 3rd. After January 3rd, add $5. Please mail your entry to the ISRA office in Chatsworth, or you may register the day of the event. If you want to be a match contender, some of the rifles you may use include M1 rifles and carbines, Mosin Nagant, models 1903 or 1903A3, 1917 Enfield, SMLE, or KAR 98K. To see the complete list and description of the event, go to the calendar on isra.org or reach out to me and I will email it to you. The following Safer USA class is at our facility in Waterman, Saturday and Sunday, January 6th and 7th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois concealed carry as well as Florida, Arizona, and maybe not Utah. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
I was looking in here on the tax thing. I can't find something I'm looking for, but we've had a caller who's been on for, what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah, just about.
Something like that. So, just to be nice.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Hi, you there?
Yep.
I'm sorry. You know
My
what?
name is Mike.
I didn't know you were there. And Eric, during the break, goes, "You're not paying attention to anything, are you?" And I'm going, "No, I'm not." I apologize. So, who is it?
No worries. My name is Mike. The reason I was calling is I've been considering getting a concealed carry permit for quite some time now, and I hear that it's the sensible thing is to have a lawyer on retainer or go through a second call defense or something. Mm-hmm. But recently I've been hearing from pretty popular trainers that in most cases you can't count on being judged by 12 rather than carried by 6 because it never goes to trial. That your lawyer pleads down, even on a good shoot, and you'll end up doing a year and a half in jail, and spending $40,000. And I'm thinking, so I called second call defense, and I asked the owner of the company, if they make a habit of pleading down in the cases of good shoots, and he said he'd never heard of it happening. And I don't, to be honest with you, I'm not trying to be a jerk or nothing, but I really don't know what to believe. And I was hoping you had thoughts on it or experience with it. Or
We've got an expert witness right here, so
yeah,
he's the guy.
First of all, there's not a lot of experience with it.
Especially not here.
Yeah, well, particularly in Illinois, but in general, there isn't a wide body of shootings, of self-defense shootings.
Right.
So it's difficult to draw any sort of really good conclusion. Now, I'll tell you a couple of things. we had a guy, and this wasn't a self-defense thing, but the concept of pleading down before you go to trial, if you follow the rules, basically, okay, when you go to court, you know, Ed sums it up best. You can take the identical case, and you can go into Cook County with that case. And the attitude in Cook County is, well, I know you had that card thing, and you know, you got the concealed permit, and yeah, okay, I get it, you got all that stuff. But if you're carrying a gun, you're probably doing something wrong. Yeah, there's probably something. So you start off behind the power curve in Cook County.
You're darn right you do.
Now, you take that same case and you come out to Will County or Kendall.
Every other county, you're probably going to be okay.
This is what they'll say. The jury is going to think, okay, you got a FOID card, you got a concealed carry, you're in legal possession. Did you have to use that level of force? Now, it doesn't sound like a big difference. It's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference because they're saying you have a right to defend yourself. Was it appropriate for the situation? Whereas in Cook County, or particularly in Chicago, but in Cook County, 26 and Cal, they're going, just if you got a gun, you're probably doing something wrong.
Right. It's like they lump everybody with guns together. The other thing that I would say, just based on, you know, news stories and the outcomes of those, that since we got concealed carry, all of the self-defense shootings, nobody's been charged with anything, to my knowledge. Even some that I thought were questionable, like the one at the party.
In the alley, or the one that the guys run down the alley and fires a shot.
Well, there's that, and there was one at a party that was like one of the first like 3 that happened, and it was in Cook County, of course. But I mean, the Uber driver was not charged with anything.
He got fired though.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, Uber's got bigger problems than, I mean, they have a lot of issues corporately. The guy who shot the robber at the corner store, he wasn't charged with anything. So, I mean, all of the cases that I've heard of have...
I've never heard of one pleading.
I don't think any of them been charged with anything.
Yeah.
So
far, so good.
What was encouraging was the fellow from Second Call Defense told me they were currently defending a guy that was shooting warning shots in the air. You know, so I thought, well, if they're defending him, you know,
that's problematic
with me.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's problematic. Warning: there's no such thing. Every time you pull the trigger on a gun, you are using lethal force.
Right.
Period. Doesn't matter what the intent
taking
is.
it out of the holster and pointing it at someone is lethal force.
So shooting warning shots.
Yeah, we don't teach. We don't condone that.
What we say,
or shooting the tires out of somebody's car as they're driving away.
That's still deadly.
And
but it sounds like
really,
what you're saying is if you're
if you shoot somebody's tires as they're pulling away, you're going to jail. Well, you're certainly going to be charged.
Yeah.
Because.
But it sounds like even a good shoot, I should be worried if I'm in Cook County.
Well, yeah.
But like I said, there have been a bunch that haven't been charged with anything.
And that's true.
So I don't think, Mike, I don't think you can paint that with a broad brush, really.
You are correct. Now, the relatively new state's attorney is it Kim Fox. I don't honestly know. I haven't been paying attention. Anita Alvarez would pin your ears back in a heartbeat if she could do it.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been talking to a guy named John Fairman, and John is a criminal defense attorney. He's a black guy and has a lot of history as a criminal defense attorney, and he's going to run against Tom Dart for sheriff of Cook County. But the interesting thing, and he's a Democrat, but the interesting thing about John is he was born and raised in Texas, and that man is pro-Second Amendment. And the comment he made to me when I was sitting in his office talking about his election, or his going for the primary, the comment he made to me is no law-abiding citizen carrying a firearm should be worried about going into Cook County. That is not Tom Dart's voice.
No.
And it certainly wasn't Anita Alvarez's voice. Now, I haven't followed Kim What's-Her-Face, Fox, enough. I know she's anti-gun because I read that early on.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything. So I don't know.
I mean, I would say she's probably not as much of a pit bull as Anita Alvarez.
Anita Alvarez was, her basic standing order to the sheriff's department was arrest them all and let God sort out the bodies. I mean, that was her, it was Sherman's march on Atlanta.
Sure.
So I don't know, Mike. There's my gut reaction to your question is, as long as it's a clean shoot, you're probably okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, unless you take the class and you hear at least what we have to say, I can't vouch for anyone else's class, but if you take the class and hear what we have to say, you may feel differently about it, because we get that all the time. I mean, we get people who get to the end of the weekend and they go, I don't think I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then other people, are probably even more fired up than they were to begin with.
Our law was, the state requires 2 hours of law. We do about, I say 25 hours, but
about 4.5.
Gretchen says about 4.5. It was written by a very, very good friend of ours who's a 29-year, he's retired, but he's a 29-year prosecutor in Cook County and a few years in Will County. And he wrote our law to keep you out of jail. I mean, basically, it's complex. There's no question about it. There's confusing and contradictory things. That's how the bill was passed. But basically, he wrote it specifically to keep people out of jail. And I think he did a pretty good job.
The other thing that really concerns me is how either the outfit, any of these outfits, how they assign lawyers to you.
Oh,
one thing that I do know about Illinois justice system is it's not so much how good your lawyer is; it's which lawyers know the judges.
Well,
and they wait for the right judge.
And let me tell you something: truer words have not been spoken. I'll tell you a sure way of getting yourself into trouble. If you come into Will County or Kendall or Grundy or any of those counties, some high-performance guy out of Chicago, Brodsky, you bring, and I don't have anything against Brodsky, but like with Peterson, you bring him into another county, they don't like that. They want their own.
Well, who does second call defense assign you a lawyer from here?
I don't think they assign lawyers. I think they refer you to a lawyer. But yeah, they will assign you.
He told me that he would give me 3 names.
Okay, so they refer you to lawyers from your state because they have to know the laws of that state.
Yeah, sure, but not necessarily the county. But probably it depends on how many lawyers they have signed up.
Right.
But yeah, I can't possibly overstate how important money is in a trial.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
As an expert witness, I charge $300 an hour just to look at your case. How much do you think the attorney's charging you? $900 probably an hour. Yeah. And so a basic criminal trial is going to cost you, under the best of conditions, probably $50,000. Mm-hmm. And if you're found not guilty, no one gives you your money back. So what the
trainer is saying, though, is that after I spend $40,000 on a lawyer, he's going to come to me and say, Mike, take the deal. You'll only do a year. You're looking at 25.
Mike, I'm going to tell you something. I got 2.5 minutes left in this show, but I'm going to tell you a quickie story. I got a case right now with a guy who killed his wife, and it's the only murder case I've ever really believed the guy. I'm sure it was accidental. And they charged him with murder 1, and we talked about it, and I said, we can get this down to involuntary manslaughter. I know I can with the testimony. I know I'll get it down to involuntary manslaughter. Well, the prosecutor got wind, through the pretrial stuff, and so he calls him into the judge's office, and they go, George, here's the deal. We're going to make it involuntary manslaughter, 4 years to be out in 18 months. And I go, okay, that's what we were hoping for. And George goes, I want to go to trial. I said to his attorney, did you explain to him what that decision means? Anything could happen. It's going to be, the worst involuntary is going to be nowhere near as bad as a first degree, but it could be a lot more than 4 years and coming home in 18 months. But he's apparently, I haven't talked to him, but apparently he's going, I didn't intentionally do that. It was an accident.
Well, that's what involuntary manslaughter
I know,
is.
but I mean, from a psychological perspective, he's saying, I don't want to go to jail for something that I had no intent of doing. Joe, he's a simple guy, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
No, I mean,
but he's not wrapping his brain around
guy.
it. Yeah, he's not wrapping his brain around what the law is. And so that's it, Mike. I mean, your lawyer may very well look at the case and find that it's thin for some reason, and he says, take the plea.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there are good reasons.
To be honest with you, the only way I'm going to shoot somebody is they're crawling through my window with a knife clenched between their teeth, and I shoot them coming into my house.
Well,
what my fear is that the lawyer is going to say,
even that,
we got a really aggressive prosecutor here.
You need to take the class.
All right, yeah, we want to take our class.
Okay.
All right, we got to go.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, Mike.
Thanks for calling.
Anyway, what can I say? We'd like to thank you for taking the time listening tonight, and we would appreciate it if you would tell your friends about On Target Radio. I would tell my friends, but I don't have any.
I tell my friends all the time, my new friends. We'd also like to thank our engineer, Eric Allen, and our sponsors, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association, Yellow Checker of Joliet, my editor, Creative Business Services, the Aurora Sportsmans Club, and Safer USA.
And finally, we hope that you'll listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.